Hello and welcome to another episode of Laptop Retrospective, and today I have another ThinkPad for us that we can add to our retro collection. So this is the ThinkPad T23, and it was the last of the T20 series that was produced. After that, of course, they would move to the T30s and then T40s, so on and so forth. This particular line, the T23, was made from July 2001 to April of 2003. And these boasted over the T22 new CPUs, RAM, USB ports, Wi-Fi. It was actually a very significant little upgrade. And one of the nice things is a large section of parts were actually interchangeable from the T20 all the way up to the T23. So if you look at the hardware maintenance manual, which I will leave in the description down below, you will see that it is actually for all of these models. So taking them apart and servicing them is exceptionally easy to do. Let's open this up using its dual latch system, which is actually rather conveniently a twin latch setup. And if you don't know anything about that, you must be new to the channel because I've got a video on that system right over here. And take a look. And I will point out that this is seen its fair share of battles. So this isn't what we would call a pristine example, but there's something about the charm of what a ThinkPad endures that makes them so interesting to examine. So let's dive right into it. In terms of panels, these are 4x3 displays, and they came in either a 13.3 inch or a 14.1 inch. The 13.3 inch was only available in a 1024 by 768 resolution. However, the 14.1 was available in that resolution as well as a 1400 by 1050. According to some accounts, however, the 1400 by 1050 panel does red tint over time. So if you are shopping for one of these online, and it does come with that nicer display, or conversely, if you note that the panel looks a little red in the picture, then that might actually be, in fact, the case, and not some kind of camera defect. Some of the other specifications that are worth pointing out are the CPUs. This was an Intel Mobile Pentium 3, and pretty much any FSB 133 capable CPU can fit in here. So you had everything from an 866 megahertz, a 1 gigahertz, a 1.13 gigahertz, and a 1.2 gigahertz. And while theoretically even slightly faster CPUs were possible, there's no existing documentation that at least I'm aware of that actually being successfully attempted. If you did cram a CPU of that ilk in one of these machines, please do let us know in the comment section down below. I'd love to capture that little bit of history. RAM was a maximum of 1 gigabyte, which was split over 2 sticks of 512 of SDRAM PC133. Your GPU was the S3 Super Savage IX/C, which was a 16 megabyte card, which was DirectX 7 capable. So in terms of gaming, there are some options available for a machine of this vintage. Last but not least, your hard disk drives were 2.5-inch IDE variety, and the ones that shipped with these machines were between 15 and 60 gigabytes. However, 320 gigabyte drives have been installed successfully in these machines. So let's just do a quick tour of some of the ports and features that we have on this device. Looking on the inside, we do actually have a ThinkLight present, which is fantastic. We see a microphone built into the palm rest, and we have a 3-button mouse with the track point. And if you don't know anything about the middle mouse, yes, I do have a video on it. Check it out up there. That's pretty much it for the inside of the case. We do have some media and Think Vantage buttons, if you will, up here at the top, as well as some LED indicator lights. But let's go ahead and close the lid and continue to tour the front and the sides of the machine. So on the front of the machine here, we don't have a whole lot going on. We do have some speaker grills here, however, which is kind of nice to see. And then on the left-hand side, we do have some exhaust. We have a card bus slot here, which is really good for all sorts of editions. We have an IR blaster, which could be used to send data between two machines equipped with it, but we're talking really slow transfer speeds. This is really handy on very old ThinkPads, though, when you have a ThinkPad like this for moving data back and forth without modern I/O. We do have a series of 3.5mm jacks for headphone, speakers, and microphone. Along the back, we have all sorts of connectivity. We have a Kensington lock slot. We have serial, printer, VGA. We have a modem, Ethernet, power, two USB 1.1s, as well as your PS2 mouse port. This is actually an S-Video display port of a kind. Not very common, weren't a whole lot of fun to use in the day, at least from my experience. And last over here, we essentially have nothing but the Ultra Bay Plus. Now, the Ultra Bay Plus is a hot swappable affair, and if we turn it over, we'll get a much better view of the catch that we flip. And then once we do, we can pull that tab out and remove the drive. In this case, it is the DVD-ROM drive, but there were four main types of drive available. You either had the CD, the CD-RW, the DVD, like this, or the DVD/CD-RW. And now that we're on the bottom of the machine, we might as well finish our tour. There is a docking connector here, and then of course we do have the battery. And the battery in this is exceptionally flat, as is the CMOS battery, which is conveniently located underneath. And this is a 5200 milliamp battery. And looking at the ribbings, I would say that this was probably designed for a slightly different machine, because those ribbings don't match up anywhere else on the case. But that is beside the point. It fits and it works. And now that we have the machine the right way up for disassembly, we may as well go ahead and start into that. Disassembly of the machine is pretty trivial, as you can tell. Removal of the battery is again very easy. Your CMOS battery is conveniently located on the bottom. Now, you can tell that these panels used a different kind of paint, which has not worn very nicely over time, but those sorts of things happen. And we'll see what's under panel number 1. And under this panel, it looks like we have a variety of different things going on here. This, of course, is our Wi-Fi card, which is connected to the Wi-Fi antenna. And this appears to be some kind of modem that is face down in there. So all of our communication equipment is hanging out there. I'm not entirely sure what this was originally connected to, but there is no signs of any connectivity on this side of the device. Moving along to this panel, which has pretty much devoid of all paint, are our two RAM chips. So separating the two clips allow us to walk this piece of RAM out, and this is a 512 megabyte stick, and this is also a 512 megabyte stick. So this thing is maxed out in terms of its RAM. And then the only other thing we have left to do is open up the hard disk slot, which we'll do by spinning out this flathead screw, placing that off to the side, and then very gently, because these are old panels, removing this panel. And it looks like this panel has already split over the years, so I'm going to try and be very careful with it. All right, we got that out. This piece was already broken into two, and that's not terribly surprising, just given how stiff everything was in there. Although the break is pretty clean, I might be able to do a little bit of TLC before I put that back together. So we'll just put that over there. The other thing that we can remove is the keyboard, and that's a bit of a unique situation. So we have this screw right here, which does need to be removed. And then the other screw is actually passing through the Ethernet daughter board. That's an interesting place to put it, but that's the situation. So we're going to go ahead and pull that out. And then we're going to go ahead and pull this one out. And again, we can see that actually goes a fair of the way in. Now, with those two screws removed, we'll be able to open this up. And as you can see, the keyboard is ready to come out already. It just is just so eager. And, okay, I was not expecting that. So the ribbon cable is like affixed, so this has to be properly screwed in for it to connect to the connector. That is really cool. I actually kind of like that. I'm sure it's I'm sure that's a real pain though, if the keyboard warps or becomes damaged or all sorts of other reasons why it wouldn't be good. But that's still kind of cool. And of course we can see the track point module is in place there as well, and has all sorts of little tiny screws to help support it. All right, that's a little bit more fun than I expected. As you can see, the plastic on this is quite brittle, so the catches here are quite broken. And as you can see, the whole thing is kind of flexing in and out of place with where it's supposed to be. And this is not uncommon for something this old. We also see this very brittle plastic shield that covers all sorts of wiring. The GPU, the Super Savage, is staring us right there. And I just gotta love this cable management job. Just put them there. Just put them all there and put the little plastic cover on. It'll be great. I mean, if it works, I suppose, so long as it does. And then over here, we've got our cooling solution, small as it is. And then I'm not going to pull off this palm rest because there is just so much broken plastic. I'm afraid it would never go back together the same way, because we got broken tab here, broken corner here. But you kind of get the idea of how this thing was built. The reinforcement that they're using is still metal-based. We're not using any sort of magical mix of materials. There's some alliteration for you. I think we're about ready to put this back together and see if we can get it to turn it on and have a little bit of fun with it. All right, here we go in all of its glory. Had a little bit of trouble getting it to boot, but I swapped the RAM sticks around and that made it happy. So I was finally able to get this thing to post. Now, this is on loan from somebody, which is why it has a fantastic Honda motorbike background. And I thought to illustrate the cool features of this machine, we'd just take a quick tour of what we've actually got here. So this is a 1024 by 768 panel, of course, using that S3 graphics Super Savage. And I gotta say, it feels snappy. This is one of the higher end 1.13 gigahertz processors. We do have it maxed out on that RAM. And overall, it just feels really, really slick for a machine of this age. The display is fairly dim, and I think that that's just the age of it, because that is maximum brightness. We're not not getting it too much better. There are a few pressure points on the display that you can really see, like here. That's not a shadow or anything. If we kill one of the lights, it'll probably become a little more obvious. The ThinkLight does show up there. I am getting a bit of ambient light through a window. And yeah, the ThinkLight's there, but it's probably not the strongest example that I've seen of this. So there are a few different things that we could do to kind of illustrate what this machine is capable of, and I'm always one for playing a game. And on this particular example, the previous owner has taken care of it for me. Quake 2. All right, folks, as you can see, this is a great little retro machine to game on. So even though it is really, a product of its time, the T23 can handle, Quake 1, Quake 2 era games very smoothly. That was entirely playable. The biggest barrier I had, of course, was the dimmer screen. And you can see that as it's had time to warm up, the screen is actually much better than what it was when it started. At least that's how I feel playing the game, which is somewhat dark. At any rate, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that you've enjoyed taking a look at this classic machine, even though it's seen some better days. If you did enjoy this sort of content, I would encourage you to do the big four. Please like the video, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And most importantly, folks, if you've had a T23 or a retro computer, I'd love to hear what you did use it for when it was brand new, or maybe what you're looking to use it for now. Your stories that I read in the comments are one of the best things about doing these kinds of videos, and just being a repository for a growing history of these machines. At any rate, thank you so much, and I will see you next time.